So, this happened a couple hours ago. But I'm finally getting to take a break and post about it. Our HOA built a fence around the neighborhood. A lowest bidder type situation. It looks okay. Reddish colored. Tall enough. But the boards are flimsy. It's been a few years and it's starting to fall apart. Nails missing. Boards fell off. So I let the HOA know about it a few months ago. I've hammered a few boards in to keep my dogs safe when I let them out, but mostly I've been waiting for them to fix it. Needless to say, they haven't touched it in months. So I noticed one of the panels had come loose. No nails in the upper and middle part. Just one in the bottom. Anyone could pull on the fence and walk right into my backyard. I say enough is enough and I go out to fix it all. Replace boards that have fallen from the outside. Put the panels back together and get a solid fence line. My house backs up to a busy street, and when the red light is on, cars back up all the way past my house area. I'm on the outside of my fence trying to get nail holes to line up and screwing things into place. When I become aware of honking noises. Before I can take off my headphones, a large cup of melted ice and watered down soda slams into the fence next to me and splashes its contents on my right side, soaking my shirt and some of my pants. Needless to say, I'm startled. I pull out my headphones and turn to look at the street. The light is green, but a husband and lady are holding up traffic. Apparently trying to yell at me and get my attention. When yelling failed, the lady in the passenger seat thought throwing a half-full cup at me was a good way of getting my attention. It worked. I'm looking at her with a WTF look, and cars are driving around them honking. I don't even get to say anything before she starts screeching at me. Apparently I need to get off my ass and move down to her fence. She's tired of her fence being shit and no one fixing it. How dare we ignore her fence and start down here? No apologies. No civility. Just harpy screeching and throwing her shit at people. And blocking traffic for everyone else. I'm usually a really nice person. But I'm done with being yelled at for things and putting up with ignorance. So I didn't try to hold back on my anger. I might feel badly later. But for now, I'm more than done. I put my drill down and grab my water and take a few more steps towards them. Attempting to cut her off, I say the obligatory "I don't work here. I live here." Attempted. She and her husband aren't listening. They are both still going off about their fence and lazy fat useless employees and HOA. I unscrew the large cap off my water bottle. The water splashes on my fingers. It's ice cold. I finally yell, "I do not work here. Fuck off." Both of their faces go full pucker. As the lady draws breath and starts to shriek again, I toss the contents of my water bottle towards their open window. She gets a decent bit to the face, which shuts her up. I doubt I got the hubby, but enough went in the SUV that I know he's annoyed. "And if you ever throw something at me again, I'll beat your goddamned ass." Then while her screaming and rage is going on, I gather my drill and go back to work. The husband goes to jump out of the SUV, but he's 5 feet 6 inches. 150 tops. I'm 6 feet 1 inch. 300. Lots of fat but lots of muscle too. Lol. So he yelled at me. But didn't try to make contact. I responded with a finger and he got back in his vehicle and flew off with tires screeching. Went 30 feet and had to stop at the light. Well within my sight and hearing. The F-bombs were glorious. Plus knowing my fence is better than theirs helps. Smile. I shouldn't be surprised at the way people treat people on the job. But did they think going off and yelling at people would actually succeed? Let alone throwing a cup of old soda at me? I went to this technology store in a mall. The workers in this store do not have a uniform. They have to keep up a fairly good appearance, clean shoes, no profanity and such on shirts, and just presentable, but otherwise just have a casual attire. The one thing to distinguish that they work there are these bright, yellow, neon lanyards. If you live in NZ or Australia, you probably know the place I'm talking about. I went in the store by myself to look at the headphones, listen to the music playing on them to see if they're a good fit and how they sound, then delicately put them back. I'm wearing a gray shirt and black pants, which just so happens to be the attire of someone else who's working currently, but I didn't know this till later. I'm approached by this larger woman who gives me a stern look. I thought maybe she just wanted to test the headphones too and move to another shelf. "Excuse me?" I didn't know she was talking to me, so I kept looking at the current shelf till I get 2 hard taps on my shoulder. "Excuse me? Oh, I'm sorry. Am I in your way? I need some assistance." "Assistance?" "Yes. Did you need some help with some headphones?" "No. I need to look at this camera in the display shelf." I looked behind her and see the display shelf. "You'll need someone to open it up for you. There's a worker over there." I point at a worker standing next to the computers, chatting to a customer, and resume browsing. "Excuse me? Do your job." "My job?" "Yes, where is your lanyard? Don't you people wear lanyards? I saw you earlier and you were wearing a lanyard." Admittedly, I was kind of confused. I'm a cleaner at a hotel and the master key I use is on a lanyard which I never take off at work, but I had traveled 2 hours away from home, the hotel, to this mall. "You know me?" She went red, her eyes bulged so large I thought they were going to fall out. "Why would I know you? You work in some computer store and are wasting my time. Get your lanyard. Where is it?" Of course, this scene we got the eyes and ears of other customers and a worker. A worker wearing a gray shirt, black pants and a lanyard. "Is everything okay over here? I want THI. She turned and stopped mid-sentence. She turned back to me, face red and eyes bulging, back to the worker. Let me tell you, me and the worker look nothing alike. I'm much shorter than him, skin slightly darker, and my hair is what I like to call a contained mess, while his actually knew what a hairbrush was. We both were just wearing a similar outfit. But I. Do you need help with something? She didn't even reply, she just walked past me and left the store. The worker asked if everything was okay and I explained. We both had a laugh out of it and he rung me up and I left with my new headphones. Not a terrible experience, but my own personal I don't work here lady experience. On mobile, so forgive me. Yesterday I was able to do a small, yet satisfying thing. I work in retail, but we don't carry a lot of gluten-free items. Because of this I have to go to the big blue box store because they have a lot of GF name and store branded items. My cashier was actually very nice, polite, and talkative with me. She saw I had cat food and dog food, asked about my babies, and genuinely seemed interested. As she was checking me, her front-end manager told her to go ahead and turn her light off and go to break. I thanked her for being so friendly and checking me before her break, and we talked a second about how the best part of cashiering is sitting down on break. She was getting done with me and another lady walked up. She looked up, saw the light was off. Karen then proceeded to roll her eyes and start to pull stuff out of her buggy. I looked at the cashier, then turned back to the lady. "Ma'am, her light is off. Her register is closed." The lady looked startled to be called out but turned around and went to another line. My cashier looked at me and said, "Thank you so much." I smiled and said, "I've always wanted to do that, but I don't work here so I can say what I want." She laughed and walked with me toward the door and told me to have a great day and a Merry Christmas. Sorry if this doesn't go here. I just hope that lady has a better Christmas season and wish her all of the nicest customers. Exact change a cashier can have. For some background, I'm a relatively small Asian girl living in the US. Also, it was winter, so I was bundled up, and maybe that contributed to this situation, but I'm thinking it was more the former than the latter description that led to this. A couple of years ago I went into a nationwide fast casual place known for their bagels and soup bowls. I stood in line and waited my turn, but when I finally got to the front I was berated for being late by the lady behind the register. I was so confused and too anxious to say, "I don't work here lady." The cashier kept asking, "What the F? Why are you late? Where were you?" Her manager was right behind her with a look of horror. Then she finally made eye contact with her boss, as if to ask why he wasn't saying anything to me for being late. Based on his look, she immediately knew she made a mistake and started apologizing profusely. Suffice to say, I got my bagel and coffee comped for her slip-up. A little while later though, it all became clearer to me because another Asian lady rushed in with the company's visor and uniform on, apologizing to the manager for being late. I awkwardly made eye contact with the employee who'd mistaken me for her co-worker, packed up my stuff, and left. The worst thing about it though was this other Asian lady was in her late 50s, and I was only 23 at the time. Lol, guess I look like a 50 years old. But some of my other Asian friends were pretty upset on my behalf when I told them about this. I work customer service in a department store attached to a mall. Never great at holiday time. A lady called my store asking if I knew if the mall has a kiosk for calendars. When I told her I apologize, I don't know the mall well, she said in her most snotty voice, well, can you go walk the mall and find out? I informed her, no, unfortunately I work for a department store, not the mall, and we can't leave the store. Perhaps she could call the mall. She cut me off and let me know I am a stupid lazy bitch and why should I be entitled to a paycheck if I won't do proper customer service. I hate this time of year. My husband just told me this story about something that happened to him last night, and I had to jump on here and share. My husband, a general officer who commands a military base, was attending an event on our base at which he was to give a brief speech. He wasn't in uniform, but was wearing khaki pants and collared polo shirt with a military service emblem on it. He was leaning against a wall in the back, responding to emails when an elderly gentleman approached him. "You look like you work here," the gentleman said. My husband replied, "I don't work here at the club specifically, but I work on the base." The elderly man said, "Well, the men's room is a disaster, could you possibly clean it up or get someone to do it?" "Okay," my husband said, and the gentleman walked off. Since he was still waiting, and figuring he might as well use the facilities before his speech, he decided to wander in the men's room to see what constituted a disaster. The big problem? The trash can was full to the top with paper towels. Having worked at a McDonald's in high school, the word disaster associated with restroom implied a lot worse to him. He pulled the bag out to see if there was another underneath, so he could bag it up himself, but there wasn't. So, he wanders back out, and notices that the elderly gentleman and his wife were seated at a table just to right of the speaker's podium. He's introduced and makes his way to the front. Just as he begins his speech, he hears clear as a bell from the right. An exclamation of "I'll be damned." Unfortunately, he had to leave for another event after his speech, so didn't get a chance to speak to the gentleman. He did, though, find a club employee to inform them of the disaster.